If you need to make a quick flyer or thumbnail or need a starter for your design journey, this tutorial will guide you as basically as someone who has never used Photoshop. I'm going to guide you to set up your workspace and understand the basic Photoshop interface. Then we will look at how to bring images, texts, and shape among other elements to create a quick design. There is the narrative that Photoshop can be challenging, especially for beginners, but I think you would need your basic mobile phone techniques and a good attention to this video to grasp at least the basics to start with. For the purpose of the tutorial, we are going to make these two flyers, and all the elements used are available in the description so you can download and follow along. When you launch Photoshop for the first time, you are going to have an interface like what I have over here. Yours may be slightly different because our versions may not be exactly the same, but whatever the case is, I would want you to look for and click on New File. When you click on New File, you may not have these already made dimensions over here. You may have something different, right? Whatever the case, our focus will be on this right side. Here is where we get to set the height and the length and the sharpness, which we prefer to call resolution of the work that we are going to do. So over here we have the width, and if it is an Instagram friendly design that you want to make, you can change the unit here to inches and set the width to 4 and set the height to 5. When you set this, the orientation will be automatically set for you. If artboards is checked, make sure you uncheck it so that you are not confused. Then we have the resolution. Resolution is, in simple terms, how sharp your design is supposed to be, and you can set the unit to pixels per inch. And for an Instagram friendly design, I prefer to leave my resolution at 600 pixels per inch. Then you can leave all the other parameters as they are by default. If it is a thumbnail that you are designing, you can set the unit here to pixels and choose 1280 for the width and 720 for the height. So for any other design you are making, you can check the ideal length and height to use online, or if it is for a physical object, let's say a banner, you can measure the length and the height of the space the banner is supposed to occupy, and you just key it in here based on the unit in which you measured it, right? So after entering these figures, I am going to be making a square size design. So I will go for inches, set the width to 5 and set the height to 5. Almost any other figure works, but this is just for example. And go ahead and click on create. Once you click on create, you have this interface. This is the basic Photoshop interface, also called the essentials. Here in this white space is where we are going to make our design. Is the platform we are going to build our design on, and the length of this is 5 inches like we set it, and the height is also 5 inches, right? If you find your interface any slightly different from this, do not worry, the basic features are the same. Now there are 3 main things I would want you to consider over here. We have a list of items here on the left side, we have another list at the top, then another on the right. Here on the left we have what we call the tools bar, and these are the tools we are going to work with. Like a carpenter has his toolbox where he has the hammer, the chisel. So anything we would want to do to anything, we will need to pick the corresponding tool to perform that action, right? Now for some of the tools, you can right click on them and you have some other tools embedded in them, right? So for this move tool, For this first tool over here with a cross sign, when you right click, you have move tool, you have artboard tool. When you right click this other tool, you have some more tools in there. That is to say that there are some functions we may want to perform that will require us to right click a tool to be able to access that other tool we are looking for. Right. Now at the top we have what we call the options bar. What the options bar does is when you pick any tool, the options bar allows you to customize the tool that you are holding. For instance, when you pick a tool which allows you to type, when you click on that tool, the options bar is automatically changed to allow you to make changes to the type tool that you have chosen. For instance, when I click on this T, which allows me to type, we have the font style, the font size and everything which corresponds to the tool I've chosen, and same applies to almost any other tool. When you click it, the options bar is automatically adjusted to suit that tool that you have picked. Right, so that is the options bar. Then on the right side, there are quite a number of things here, but what I would want us to focus on is what we call the layers. The layers. Now when you create a blank canvas or a blank workspace like we have created already, you are going to have one layer which is over here, and this layer is called background. It is created by default. Now what I would want you to understand about layers is layers represent everything that you bring onto this your workspace. So when you type a text, a layer appears for that text. When you bring in a picture, a layer appears for that picture. So you can look at the layers as the names of whatever you bring onto your workspace. Right, I hope I'm going to explain it better. Now when you pick this layer, we have an eye icon over here. When you click on that, it should remove this blank space. But then you realize in this case there is a padlock by default. All you do is to click on the padlock and the layer is now opened. So when I now click on the eye, you see that it has removed that white in the background. That means that this white in the background has this layer, or this layer is for the white in the background. So the moment I close my eye to that white, you see that it is removed. One reason we need to understand the layers is that layers is more like how you call out something to perform an action on it. And so let's say, well, this is not part of it. Let's say I type a text over here. Don't worry if you cannot do this. You realize that the moment I brought in this text, there is a layer over here now called lorem ipsum. Don't worry about it. If I should bring in a picture, for instance, the moment I bring in the picture, you see that another layer is created over there. Right. Now, if you need to do anything to any of the objects on the workspace now, what you do is you call out that object by clicking on the layer. Like you have 3 children, you want to send one of them. The first thing you do is to call which of the children you want to work with. Alright, and you do that by clicking on the layer. So if for instance I need to move this picture in the background to the left, what I do is that I call the background by clicking on this layer which corresponds to it before I perform any action on it. Right, so when I click on the layer, then I can come and pick the tool to determine what I want to do to that layer or to that object. All right, the next thing I would want us to look at is how to import a picture, and you do that simply by identifying the picture you want to work with, and then you drag it onto the canvas and release. The moment you do this, you see a check button over here. So this action is like you ask someone to bring you a box, and the person has brought the box, but he is still holding it. The next thing you will need to do from here is to click on this check button. The moment you click on that, then the item is released onto your screen. Until you click on that check button, you can almost do nothing on your workspace. Right, so that is basically how you import any picture to your work screen. Let me demonstrate importing one other picture. Right, then you click on the check button over here, it is released to your screen. I realized that for the two pictures I just imported, we have two corresponding layers for them. If I don't want to see the beggar, I can click on the eye icon and the beggar disappears temporarily until I click the eye icon again. If I don't want to see the background, I can do similar and it disappears. Now, when you look at the arrangement of these layers, you see that the beggar layer is on top and the background layer is beneath it. It is the same that has been represented over here. What it means is that any layer which is on top in this arrangement comes in front of any layer which is beneath it. Right? So if beggar is on top, it means beggar will be in front. Background is beneath, so background will be behind the beggar. That is how the arrangement is done. And so if, for instance, if I want this layer which is called background to be in front, I can just drag it up above the beggar layer. You see some blue lines the moment it goes above, and you release. And then the moment you rearrange the layers panel, you see that it affects the elements we have over here. By the way, the moment we clicked on the padlock which was over here, the name of this layer, which was initially background, changed to layer 0. That is how it works automatically. And this picture over here, I named it background. That's why we have the name background over here. The next thing I would want us to discuss is how to remove the background of a picture. For a beginner, I would recommend that you use online sites, because although there are many ways of doing it with Photoshop, they may seem complicated for a starter. And so with these websites, you can remove your backgrounds, though it will not give optimal results, but it is good for a start. So you can head into your browser and search removebg.com or any other site which allows you to remove background from images. Right, so this is how removebg.com looks like. You can drag in any image with a background and it will automatically process and remove the background for you. Once that is done, you can go ahead and download your image. Right. And then you can import it and use it for whatever you want to use it for. Once your background is removed, like I demonstrated with dragging, you can just drag it to your workspace. Right. And before you could do anything, remember you have to check this button at the top. Now, since I don't want this image, what I'll do is I'll call the name of that image and hit on delete, and then it is gone. Another way I could have done that is to just click on the eye icon and it hides it from my view. All right. If you do anything and you want to undo, you can click on Ctrl Z or Ctrl Z and you undo it. Now let's say I have this my background, I have this beggar which I would move up. Some of the basic techniques I would need to do is to move this background, because I definitely don't want it to be where it is. And that brings us to our first tool, which is called the move tool. You can click on this tool, and the moment you click, you take note of how the icon or the cursor looks like. This is how the move tool cursor looks like, though it may change at some point. Right. When you click on the move tool, you can call the name of which object you want to move by clicking on the corresponding layer. So in this case, I want to move the burger to the left. So I can click on the burger layer, and then with the move tool, when I drag on the burger, I move it. Another alternative to clicking a layer to call it to action is by making sure the move tool is selected. Right, when you select it, the color around it changes. When you select the move tool, you can just click on the object and it will automatically call the layer for you by selecting the layer. Right, with the move tool selected, when I click on that, it automatically picks that and makes it ready for whatever I want to do. So I can drag this and move it. I can click on this and drag and move it. Right. The next thing I would want us to look at is how to rotate. So let's say I want to rotate this burger. That one too is part of the move tool. So I make sure that the move tool is selected. I click on the burger, or alternatively, I can go ahead and click on the burger layer straight away. Make sure the move tool is selected. And instead of dragging on the burger like we did to move, you can click on the burger, come to the edge of it, right, anywhere outside. See that the moment you hover the cursor at the edge, the cursor changes to kind of a curve with two pointed arrows. Then you can click and drag, right, and that rotates the object. When you are satisfied with the position, you can click the check icon over here to release it. And because I don't want to rotate anything, I can click Ctrl Z to undo that. So that is how you rotate. I can equally select this background layer, come to the edge and rotate. Until the cursor changes, the rotate may not work. So make sure your cursor is like that curve with two arrows at the end. Right, Ctrl Z to undo. The next thing would be to resize. How to change the size of anything, because the sizes of these two elements already here are not ideal. So I would want to resize the burger. Make sure that you call out the layer you want to work with, and still with the move tool, this time we will not drag, we will not come to the edge and drag and rotate. What we will do is, instead of in the middle of the object or outside the object, we are going to be exactly at the edge, and that one too gives you a different icon, so you can drag from that place and then you resize. Okay, so with the layer selected, the move tool selected, when you drag on the object, you move. When you drag exactly at the edge, or which is the line over here, when you drag exactly at the edge, you resize. Okay, any of the edges work. Or when you drag exactly outside the edge, you rotate. So all those three functions are embedded in the move tool. And for anything you do, you make sure that you check over here. Right, so for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll make sure that the background layer is selected. I'll drag on the edge to resize it to a desirable size. Then I'll drag it a bit downward to make it something like this. Then I'll resize the burger and rotate it a bit and move it to where it should be. Then click on the check button, and that's it. By the way, I downloaded this background online, and you can get a couple of them online, especially as a beginner, and use them straight away. The next thing I would want us to look at is how to add text to your design. And you do that by using the type tool. The type tool has this letter T icon over here. So you click on the T, and if this option pops up, you just choose horizontal type tool. The moment you do this, your cursor changes to suit the type tool. Remember, when we chose the move tool, we had this cursor. When you choose any tool, it has a corresponding cursor it gives you. Now, you can click anywhere on your workspace with the type tool selected, and it will give you some form of text. The name is Lorem Ipsum. Lorem Ipsum is a dummy text, just a placeholder to let you know how your text you're about to type is going to look like. Right. So with this type 2 selected, you see that the options panel has changed in favor of this type of this text introduced, and then there is another layer which is created called layer 1 for now, for the text that we have just entered. I can click on this check icon and then leave the text as it is, but I definitely don't want to leave it as it is now. So the same way you select text on your phone, with the type 2 selected, you can drag on the text to highlight it. Then, like Microsoft Word, you can click on this arrow, small arrow over here, and change the font to any font you want to use. In this case, let me just pick any font, and then you can change the size of the font by clicking this arrow and choosing any size, or you can drag on this big T, small t, and that also increases the size for you. Right, then you can either center align, left align, or right, and you can click on this color button over here. It may be a different color in your case. When you click on it, you have this pop-up which allows you to choose a color for your text. Right, now when you look down here, there is a slider which allows you to change the range of colors you can pick from. Right, so when you click anywhere in this slider, it gives you a range. So let's say I want something blue. When you click over here, you have different shades or tints of blue that you can work with. Or you always have white in this corner. Right, so you can change to any range of colors, and when you are satisfied, you click OK, and then you click this check icon over here. Now you realize that my text is somehow hidden. So what I do is to make sure that I call the name of the text by clicking on the layer, and then I pick the move tool, and then I drag on the text to move it. At the same time, you can hit the arrow keys on your keyboard if the move tool is selected to move any of your layers. Right, so let me select the type tool and then select my text, right, and change it to whatever it is supposed to be. I think per the example is supposed to be beggar party. So beggar, then I hit enter and I type party. Good. In most cases, your text will be jammed like I have over here. You can select all the texts, right, or you can just hit Ctrl A to select all the text if the type tool is selected. Now if the type tool is not selected and you hit Ctrl A, it is going to do a different form of selection around your design. So you can either select text by dragging with the type 2 selected, or with the type 2 selected you hit Ctrl A and it selects all the text for you. Now once this text is selected, what I would want you to do is, of course you can change the alignment, right? you see this kind of a folder icon over here. Unfortunately, I'm not able to zoom my screen with the recorder I'm using. So you click on this folder icon over here and you have the character panel open. This allows you to make changes, or it's more like an extension to the options panel. So it allows you to make changes to the text over here. Right, so over here you have the font size. You can drag on the big T, small t to change it, or click this arrow to choose, or even type in the size that you want to use. Right, like 200 for instance, you hit enter and it works. But I want something way smaller than that. So you can change the size over here. You can as well change the font style, right, by clicking on this arrow. And we have a letter A over here. We have letter A over A with some small arrow over here. Sorry, I'm not able to zoom. You can click this down arrow and then choose a different number. Okay, so the A over A is more like the distance between a line on top and a line beneath. Like we have beggar and party. So the moment you select the text and you increase this space, it automatically increases the space between these two letters. And if it is these two lines, if it is the spaces between the letters you want to change, there is this VA icon with a space horizontal with an arrow horizontal beneath it. That tells you that the spaces between the letters, or the horizontal spacing, right? So you can increase that size to increase the spaces between the horizontal letters. Now if you are okay with all of these, of course there are other options over here. You can click to underline if you want. You can choose superscript, subscript, and this FIST and all the rest. You can click them and they will make some changes to your font in some cases, right? If you are satisfied with everything, you hit this check icon over here. That check is very important because there are so many things you may want to do at some points which may not work until you have made sure that check button is not here at the top. Right, now we have this text put at the wrong place. So what do? We call the text. All right, this is what we want to move. So we call the text we want to move by clicking the layer. We hit the move tool and then we just drag on the text to position it at where it should be. You can hit the T icon over here, select the text and change the alignment, right? Left align in this case, and click the check button, hold move and move it to where it should be. So you realize there are basic techniques. So if you want to do anything to any layer, make sure that you select the layer. If it is movement, rotation or resizing, you make sure you select the move tool. All right, then either drag on the object to move, drag exactly at the edge to resize, or drag out of the edge to rotate. And whatever you do, you make sure that you hit the check icon if you are satisfied. If you have anything wrong, Ctrl Z to undo. Right. The next thing I would want us to look at is how to draw a shape. Right. Now to draw a shape, we need what we call the shape tool. In this case, it is rendered as rectangle tool. And I'm calling it the shape tool because when you right click on this rectangle tool, you have other shapes in there. So let's say you want to draw a rectangle. You right click on this tool and click on rectangle. If you want to draw an ellipse or a circle, you right click the same tool and choose ellipse, or the same tool for triangle or other polygons. In this case, we want to draw a rectangle. Now once you select this tool, you see that the cursor has changed this time again, like it changed for the move tool, right? It changes when you select the type tool, and when you click the shape tool as well, it changes to a different tool, a different cursor. And then the options also changes when you have chosen this new tool, which is the rectangle tool. Because we have not drawn any rectangle yet, there is no new layer for the rectangle until you click on any part of the workspace and then drag, right, and release. The moment you do that, you have rectangle 1, a layer created for it. And then here are the options side. We have, I would want you to concentrate on where we have the fill, because here is where you can change the color of your rectangle. So you can click in that, and you may have some predetermined colors over here, which you can choose any of them. All right. If you don't want any of them, you can click on this all color wheel. All right. When you click on that, it brings you to that color picker we use to make changes to our text, and you can pick any color you want to use. There is always a white at the corner, all right, and there is always black anywhere beneath, regardless of the range of colors you are working with. So I would want to go for white. Then you click OK, and then you have the white color set. Right, back to the move tool. Whenever you are confused, you can come and click on the move tool and bring you back to where you want to be. Now with the move tool selected, I can move the rectangle to wherever I want it to be. I can resize the rectangle as well. Okay, and when you are satisfied, you click on the check button over here. So Photoshop can be easy, right? Until we dive into the deep. Right, so with the type tool, we can add the new text that needs to be added. What is it? Free entry for all. So I click in the rectangle and I type free entry for all, and then select all that text. With the type tool selected, I can reduce the font size. I hope you get that. Right. Then I have to change the color. By default, that text is white, so I should click on this color over here and then change it to anything else. You can pick any color for that and click OK. When I'm satisfied, I click the check button. I can hit the move tool and then move the text to where I desire that it should be. And that will basically be the control for your first design. So let me bring in the Coca-Cola by just dragging it in. I can move it around. I can resize it. All right. And when I'm satisfied, I hit the check button. If you want to do anything else and it is not working, just make sure you hit the check button. Now with this done, I don't want the Coke to be in front of the burger. I want it to be behind. And like I taught you, if you want anything to be behind, you just make sure that you move it downward. You move that layer downward. All right. So I just put it beneath the burger and you have it over there. And what else do we have over here? We have this glass with some juice in there. So look for that. So probably you have removed all your backgrounds with the website I just showed you. And I'll just drag on this resize, all right, and move it to where I want it to be. And I hit the check. I can click on this Coke once my move tool is selected and move it to where it should be. All right. Click on this burger, resize it. It all depends on what you want to have done. Then I can hit the type tool. It says don't miss that. Good. So I hit the type tool and I type don't miss that. I can't see the colors well, so I select all the text and change this color over here to something white and hit OK. Then make sure you select this folder icon, which allows you to adjust the space between the lines. Alright, so line A, line B, I reduce the size or the space between them. I can as well change the font size over here to anything similar to what I have over there. You can change the font size over here or change it there, wherever you want to do it. And when you are satisfied, you hit the check, and with the move tool I would want to drag that a bit away. And basically with that, my flyer is done. The next thing I can do, okay, so a bonus tip, you can click on any layer over here, and once the layer is selected, yes, so there are a number of layers over here, so you can scroll between the layers if you need to perform any action. So let's say I want to fade this Coke in the background. Whatever you want to fade, you click on that object, or you call that object by the layer, and then here at the top we have something we call opacity. Opacity is how opaque an object is, so you can reduce the opacity of that object. So you see, when I drag on the word opacity, you see that the burger is fading, right? So if it is 100%, it means it is fully opaque. When you reduce it, it becomes a bit more transparent or faded, right? And you can do that for almost any other thing. Let's say with the burger layer, I can fade it. That text layer, I can fade it, right? Now let's assume with these basic controls you are able to organize your design and you need to save it. What you do is you come up here to File, right, and choose Save a Copy. I would prefer to save it on my computer, right? You can as well save to cloud, but you can click on my computer and then name the file. I'll choose trial for the file name, and then the save as type. By default you have Photoshop. This Photoshop, which we also call PSD, is the format that you can open with Photoshop and come later to edit. Alright, so I would prefer or advise that you can set the save as type to Photoshop and click on save. Whatever appears, just click OK. And then I've saved my work as Photoshop document, which I can open, let's say, in my desktop, from my desktop, and edit it again. The file should be somewhere on my desktop now. Then after doing that, you come back to File, Save a Copy on your computer. You name it, and then this time the save as type. Let's say you now have to save what you can use, maybe share on your social media handles or something. Instead of Photoshop or PSD, you can choose JPEG into bracket, JPG, and the rest. When you click on that, I would prefer to keep it in desktop, and you click on save, and your work is saved. You can keep the quality at 12, format options at baseline standard, and click on OK, and your work is saved. So now this is the work that we did. You can share it to anywhere you want to share it and use. I really think it is a good time to say thank you by subscribing or liking the video, and I hope to bring tutorials which will hopefully take you from the beginner stage to some more intermediate or even advanced levels. If there is anything you are not too sure of, or you had challenges anywhere along the line, you can leave it in the comment section. I hope to see you in the next one.